Meet Lee, a dedicated office worker in his mid-30s who's always dreamed of feeling confident in his own skin. One evening, after a long day at his desk, Lee caught a glimpse of himself in the mirror and felt that familiar pang of frustration. It was those extra pounds that crept on over the years, leaving him tired and self-conscious. But Lee's journey to shed those pounds didn't have to mean sacrificing the hard-earned muscle he'd built from sporadic gym visits. What if he could emerge stronger, leaner, and more empowered? Well, that is exactly what happened, and I'll share that story with you now. Through Lee's experience, you will discover the tactics to minimizing muscle loss while burning body fat, turning what could be a discouraging process into a fantastic opportunity. Building muscle as the fat melts away. By the end, you'll be equipped with practical tools to apply in your life, whether you're a beginner or seasoned lifter, helping you achieve sustainable results that boost your health, confidence, and energy for years to come. Imagine stepping on the scale, not just lighter, but more muscular and more resilient. This story unlocks that future for you. Lee's transformation began with a crucial realization. Losing weight didn't have to mean sacrificing muscle. He had heard whispers of body recomposition, the magical process where one could shed fat while gaining muscle, even in a calorie deficit. But was it possible for someone like him? As a moderately experienced lifter with a bit of extra body fat from his desk job days, Lee was in a prime position. He wasn't a complete beginner, but neither was he an elite athlete, and his body fat percentage gave him some leeway. Plus, as a male, he learned from his research that men often faced a higher risk of muscle loss during deficits compared to women, who tended to retain or even build muscle more easily. This gender difference, rooted in biology, made Lee empathetic toward his own struggles. It wasn't just about willpower, it was about understanding his body's unique responses. Empowered by this knowledge, Lee dove deeper, knowing that external factors like sleep, stress, and responsibilities played a role too. He had a young family and a high-pressure career, which sometimes left him stressed and short on sleep, creating a less-than-ideal anabolic environment. But he refused to let that define him. If I can optimize what I control, he thought, I might just turn the odds in my favor. And that's where his nutrition journey kicked in. Coming up, we'll see how tweaking his calories and protein intake became the foundation of his success, setting the stage for training tweaks that amplified his results. Nutrition was Lee's first battleground. He knew a calorie deficit was essential for fat loss, but the size of that deficit mattered immensely. In his early attempts, Lee had tried aggressive cuts, slashing calories drastically to speed things up, only to feel drained and notice his lifts weakening. A turning point came when he learned that deficits around 500 calories, or about 1% of body weight lost per week, were the sweet spot for most people. By aiming for a slower, more sustainable rate, Lee avoided the muscle loss that often plagued rapid diets. He calculated his needs carefully, tracking his weight weekly and adjusting intake to stay within that 1% range. This empathetic approach to his body of listening to its signals rather than forcing it seemed to pay off, as he began shedding fat without the dreaded muscle dip. But calories were only half the story. Protein intake emerged as Lee's secret weapon. In one phase, he experimented with moderate protein levels, around 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, but found his muscle mass merely holding steady. Switching to a higher intake of over 1.5 grams per kilogram, and sometimes up to 2.4 grams per kilogram, changed everything. During a 4-week push with a 40% deficit, balanced carbs, and adjusted fats, Lee not only maintained but actually increased his muscle slightly, leading to greater fat loss overall. He felt fuller, recovered better, and stuck to his plan without feeling deprived. Of course, he was cautious not to go overboard, knowing excessive protein could make meals monotonous and hurt adherence. This balance taught him that nutrition wasn't about extremes, but smart choices. With his diet dialed in, Lee was ready for the physical side. Next, resistance training would step in as his muscle-building ally, showing how consistency in the gym could defy the deficit. Resistance training became the heartbeat of Lee's recomposition. Without it, he realized, no amount of dieting would preserve his gains. Muscle really did need a reason to stick around. Treating his deficit phase like a muscle-building one, Lee stuck to proven guidelines, 10 to 20 sets per muscle group weekly, each pushed close to failure with 1 to 3 reps in reserve. He mixed reps from 5 to 20, rested adequately 1 or 2 minutes, and chose exercises that felt right for his joints, emphasizing full ranges of motion and controlled tempos. Even in his calorie-restricted state, this stimulus kept his muscles engaged and growing subtly. It wasn't always easy. Fatigue from family life crept in, but Lee's empathy for his own limits helped him adjust, perhaps shortening a session rather than skipping it. This resilience built not just muscle, but mental strength. Yet, no journey is without hurdles, and for Lee, cardio posed a potential pitfall. He initially ramped it up to burn more calories, thinking it would accelerate his progress, but he soon noticed overestimation of its impact. A 40-minute session boosted expenditure, but not dramatically over a full day. Relying too heavily on it led to fatigue, joint stress from running, muscular tiredness affecting lifts, and overall drain that interfered with recovery. The interference effect loomed, where intense cardio could slightly hinder hypertrophy, especially in his lower body. To counter this, Lee shifted strategies. He prioritized diet for the deficit and used cardio sparingly, opting for low-impact, moderate-intensity options like brisk walking or cycling that he enjoyed. He separated sessions from leg days, doing weights first if needed. This minimized negatives while reaping cardio's benefits, like better mood and heart health. As we'll see in his wrap-up, these tweaks culminated in practical habits that anyone could adopt. In the end, Lee's story was one of triumph through trial and error. By considering his training experience, body fat, lifestyle, and being male, he tailored his approach. A moderate deficit under 1% weekly weight loss, high protein over 1.5 grams per kilogram, dedicated resistance training, and smart, low-impact cardio became his blueprint. Months later, Lee stood leaner, stronger, and more confident, not just from the scale, but from recomposing his body in ways he once thought impossible. His journey reminds us that with empathy for our bodies and education on the science, we can turn weight loss into a path of growth, achieving results that last a lifetime.